Hey everybody, it's Sword Fitness, and for today's video I want to talk a little bit about nutrition, specifically how people that train influence their different calorie intake strategies to either promote muscle gain or promote body fat loss. I want to talk about the two main strategies used in this industry, and I want to give my honest opinions on it, and I also want to provide what I consider to be the option that I personally do and go with. So basically, the main way that you control your body fat percentage or muscle gaining potential is by directly taking control of how much energy you put into your body through the nutrients that we get from food. Specifically, the energy producing macronutrients, which is protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, I haven't actually talked about this before, so since it's the first video on the topic, I will go ahead and briefly give you a little bit of information about calories related to these macronutrients. So protein gives you 4 calories per gram of that macronutrient. It also has the highest thermic effect of food, meaning your body burns the most calories digesting protein compared to any other macronutrient. More on that later. I'll probably do a whole video covering protein specifically in the future. Then we have carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy for high-intensity workout. So this could be lifting heavy weights within a short period of time, or maximal sprinting, things like that. Even a jog will eventually start consuming more carbohydrates than fats. So carbohydrates per gram, you also get 4 calories, like protein, but the thermic effect of carbohydrates is a little bit less, so you don't burn as much digesting carbohydrates versus protein. Then finally, we have lipids or fats. These are the most calorie dense. This is the most calorie dense macronutrient. It has 9 calories per gram, but it is also important, especially when you get healthy sources of fats such as omega-3s, which are good for reducing your body's inflammation and increasing your HDL levels, so your high density lipids for your cholesterol, basically. This is seen as the good cholesterol versus the LDLs, which is your low density lipids. So basically, consuming omega-3s, which can be found in sources like fatty fishes, nuts, things like that, these are really good for combating your levels of LDLs while raising your levels of HDL. So good cholesterol versus bad cholesterol. But again, I'll make a video on that in the future because that's not what the topic of this is for. But basically, we consume a different amount of these macronutrients to end up with an overall calorie target for the day. And within this plan, we aim to consume a certain amount of calories to influence our body in a couple different ways. So I'm going to start with cutting. So one of the main strategies that people follow on a diet is called cutting, which is basically eating in a calorie deficit of what your body naturally needs to maintain its current weight. So when you're in a constant calorie deficit over a prolonged period of time, you will lose weight. Depending on how aggressive the calorie deficit is, you can end up losing either more muscle than fat, or more fat and preserve muscle if your protein is good, and all that stuff, but I'll get into that in the future. But the main principle is this. When you cut, you are in a calorie deficit, and the main goal of a cutting phase is to lose body fat while preserving as much muscle mass as possible. Now, on the flip side of this, you have a bulking phase. So a bulking phase, for those of you that don't know, is the exact opposite of a cutting phase. You want to eat in a caloric surplus, meaning you're consuming per day more calories than your body needs to maintain homeostasis. And the theory behind this is that it puts your body into an anabolic state where it has the nutrients that it needs to better support muscle growth. And this is true for the most part. The main drawback of a bulking phase is any extra energy that isn't put into muscle gain will be stored as body fat. So there are different variations of bulking. I can do a whole video on bulking in the future, but the main two ones that I personally have researched is dirty bulking and clean or lean bulking. So dirty bulking is basically when you eat pretty much whatever you want. You know that you're going to eat above your calorie target, and the surplus that you're creating might be extremely high because you're just eating a bunch of calorie-dense foods that you haven't been enjoying for the past several months if you were on a cut or something like that. And the main issue with dirty bulks is they often pack on a lot more fat than muscle. Like, yes, you'll gain some more muscle because your body is in that anabolic state, but because you're consuming such an excess amount of calories, most of that stored energy will become fat. The other version of bulking is clean bulking, also known as lean bulking, where you eat in a small controlled surplus, only 200 to 300 calories above what your maintenance is. This is often seen by bodybuilders as the best way to induce muscle growth because you're feeding your muscles the nutrients it needs to grow, to put on size, put on mass, and you're minimizing the fat gain that you will get. You will still gain fat because you're in a surplus, and when you're in a surplus, fat gain is inevitable, but you're trying to reduce how much fat you gain. Quickly, I'll circle back to cutting. Cutting is exactly the opposite. It's like a yin-yang. So with cutting, you want to be in a small deficit to preserve muscle. The greater the deficit, the more muscle you lose. So the disadvantage of cutting is that you're at risk of losing muscle. The disadvantage of bulking is that you're in the risk of gaining fat. So that's kind of how that works. So what a lot of people do is, it's like a cyclical dieting style. Well, they will switch between phases of either dirty bulking or lean bulking, and then they will follow that with a dramatic cut to reverse the dirty bulk, or with a mini cut to reverse the lean bulk, things like that. Basically, put yourself in a phase where you're building a lot of muscle, gaining some fat, and then put yourself in a phase where you're losing a lot of fat and trying to preserve muscle. And they'll constantly switch back and forth between these two cycles, the cut-bulk cycle, bulking and cutting. So what are my thoughts on this? What's my experience with this? So I can tell you guys, some of you probably I haven't posted a picture of where I started yet. That's coming soon. But when I did start my journey, I was extremely obese. I don't know my exact body fat percentage, but I was, my BMI was in the obese range, and I was big. I was very big. And so obviously my first step was to start with a cut because I already had all of the stored energy to feed my muscle growth. I didn't need to eat more calories because a lot of the stored calories on my body in the form of fat could fuel my training. So I could be in a calorie deficit and still increase my muscular size because I had that stored energy to feed that. So I've been on a cut pretty much my entire lifting career so far. I've been training for 1 year and about 4 or 5 months now. Almost 5 months. And I've been on a cut the entire time. I used to weigh about 230 pounds, and now I currently weigh around 146 to 147 pounds. And I'm currently, as of this morning, at 15.2% body fat, according to my BIA Smart Scale. I'll talk about that in the future, how to calculate body fat percentage and whatnot. That's for a different video. Anyway, so bulking and cutting, right? My only experience has been with cutting, and I can personally tell you that it can be really, really difficult to track your calories, especially when you're trying to be in a calorie deficit. So it means you have to give up a lot of foods if you are a big eater like myself and you like your calorie-dense foods like chips, cookies, ice cream, pizza, burgers, etc. It doesn't mean you have to completely give it up. I remember when I first started dieting, my trainer tried to get me to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every day. I'm gonna say right here, and if my trainer watches this, I stand by it. That's bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, but the best diet is one that you can stick to every single day for the rest of your life. And I can't eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every single day for the rest of my life. Okay, I need pizza every now and then, and I like my chips. I'm not giving that up ever. And it's still possible to have a great physique. I'll show you guys my current physique in the thumbnail of this video. So you'll see it by the time I get to this point of talking. But I haven't given up any of the foods that I love to eat. And I still feel myself, I love myself, my body more than I ever have before. I feel like I look great. Now, I still have a long way to go. I'm still trying to cut down to about 10 to 12% body fat. And I'm currently sitting around close to 15%. But I'm happy with my body. And I can promise you guys, no BS, I did not eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every single day to get there. I had days where, yes, I did eat clean, but most days I can tell you I personally had a cheat meal almost every single day. Now that doesn't mean that I overshot my calories. So in the grand scheme of things, the way I like to see it, it's not really a cheat meal if you incorporate it into your plan. You plan to have a tasty, highly calorie dense meal as long as it doesn't overshoot your calorie goal for that day. And that's worked really well for me. So I still have days where I eat things like popcorn, ice cream, pizza, burgers, etc. Not all on the same day, of course, but I can still enjoy those things. Anyway, sorry, that's me getting off on a little tangent there. But yeah, that's been my experience. So I've been cutting. The hardest part about cutting can be to give up some of these things, or at least stop eating as much of them. Portion control is a really big thing when you want to eat foods that you still love. You just need to learn to weigh your foods. I'll make a video on that later. Weigh your foods, weigh your portions, know how many calories you're getting. Have a good rough estimate. And one thing I want to point out is you don't have to be perfect with tracking calories. In fact, no one is, not even me. And I weigh almost everything I eat. There is no scientific way to perfectly, down to the gram, track your proteins, because you never know how much protein is in one specific bite of a food that you're eating, and calories and things like that. So just try to get as accurate as you can, whatever works for you, even if that's not weighing your portions. I've only been weighing my portions for about a month or two now, and I personally like it because I feel it gives me more freedom to eat foods that I like. Before, I did not eat things like ice cream or chips because I had no idea how many calories of those I was eating, and I wasn't gonna sit there and count chips. So now that I have a food scale, I can plan out how much of that indulgence I can have while still keeping to my calorie target. Anyway, so that's cutting, and that's been my experience, and that's all I've ever done because I'm still trying to get to the body fat percentage that I want to be at. Now, I've been telling my trainer that as I'm getting closer and closer and closer to my goal, my trainer constantly suggests that I start a lean bulking phase to pack on more muscle. And me personally, this is where I'm going to give my honest opinion about bulking and cutting. And it is an unpopular opinion in this industry, so maybe I'm taking a risk starting already saying this early in my channel's career, but I stand by it. I watch a lot of fitness influencers, and I've talked about this particular influencer in the past, but his name is Greg Doucette. He's a former IFBB pro, and now today he races bikes, and his physique is incredible. He has a lot of muscle. He's bulky. He's bulkier than I want to be. I don't want to be that big. I want to be mostly lean and aesthetic. But he eats at maintenance. And so that's the third option. So maintenance calories is essentially eating the same amount of calories that your body needs based on your expenditure to stay the same in terms of weight. You won't gain weight, you won't lose weight, but over time, you still have enough nutrients to build muscle and lose fat. You're just doing it slower than the fat loss in a cut or the muscle gain in a bulk. So a maintenance phase, right, eating at maintenance calories is basically a happy medium between the two, in my opinion. And so while it may take longer to build a lot of muscle on a maintenance phase versus a bulk, I feel the pros of a maintenance, such as eliminating that fat gain factor, far outweigh the cons for me personally. I can tell you right now, this thumbnail picture I'm going to upload when this video is done, this is the best I've ever looked, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I would not trade seeing my six-pack abs and feeling aesthetic for a bit more muscle and then having to cut again once I lose that because of going into a bulk and gaining fat again, even if it's a little bit. My philosophy is cutting and bulking and cutting. I believe it is unhealthy for the average person. Now, I did tell my trainer that I do want to become a bodybuilder someday, so I can understand his argument for me going on this extreme yo-yo dieting style, because this is what most bodybuilders do, and it does make sense on paper. So I'll give my trainer credit for that. But I believe that for the average person, bulking and cutting is absolutely unnecessary. I believe in making it very simple. If you are overweight or obese, cut, get to a body fat percentage that is healthy for you. That's the most important thing, is healthy for you. So not too low. Single digit body fat, that is not healthy. I'll make a video on that in the future. But get to a body fat percentage that is healthy for you, A, and B, you are happy with. So healthy body fat percentage for a male would be somewhere between 10 to 20%, with most people falling into 15%. Now your genetics might influence how comfortable you are or how easy it is for you to maintain somewhere in that range, but most males will fall somewhere in this range, and that is healthy. For a female, it's somewhere between 20 to 30%. Because females naturally store extra fat, which is used for childbirth, things like that. So these are healthy body fat percentages for men and women, right? And you will fall somewhere in between this zone, right? So my advice to you is, if you are overweight or obese, do go on a cut. This is what I'm doing, getting to a body fat percentage that I am happy with and is healthy for me. So right now I'm 15%. This checks off A, it is healthy for me. It doesn't quite check off B. I do want to be a little bit more shredded. I want more definition in my six pack. So I am trying to cut down a little bit further. But if I feel too uncomfortable, if I have no energy, no sex drive, if I lose my focus, then I know I need to increase my body fat percentage back to where I feel healthy again. So it's finding a good balance between a healthy body fat percentage for your body, your genetics, and be something that you personally are proud of and happy with. So that's what I recommend for someone that's overweight or obese. If you're coming at it from the other end, you're skinny, scrawny, thin as a toothpick, then yes, I do recommend a bulk. If you want to do a lean bulk, if you want to do a dirty bulk, whatever, just bulk, gain mass, become a healthy body fat percentage for you. So this would be if you naturally are extremely low body fat percentage, maybe you're 8%, 9%, 10%, and you just want more muscle. Go ahead and you can do a bulk up to 12%, 13, 15% even, whatever you are personally happy with, because that percentage is healthy for you. Once you get to the body fat percentage that you want to be at, so I'm gonna use myself as an example again. For me, it is between 10 and 12%. I'm happy just existing between 10 and 12%. Once you get to that body fat percentage that you want to be in, just maintain it. You don't need to yo-yo diet back and forth. Now, yes, it's more optimal, but I believe that psychologically it's very damaging, and it really affects how you look at food, because you go through these long phases where you feel like you have to force feed yourself, and then you feel fat all the time, and then you go through the other side of that where you're cutting and you're basically starving yourself, and you're always craving food because you feel restricted, you feel far too restricted oftentimes, and you just want to eat the foods that you love. So maintenance calories, I find, is a happy medium. It lets you eat a good, healthy amount of food for your body while also not gaining a lot of fat in the process. And not gaining any fat in the process if you are eating at a correct maintenance, which you will calibrate over the weeks. We'll talk about that also. So that is my honest opinion on bulking and cutting. Me personally, psychologically, I don't ever want to have to do a cut again. This is the only cutting phase I ever want to do in my life. Outside of like a contest phase for me being a bodybuilder. But let's say I never become a bodybuilder. Let's say I don't have the genetics for it, or I change my mind and I'm happy just being a trainer. Then I'll never have to do another cut again once I get to the body fat percentage that I want to be at, because I'll never bulk. So I cut down to the percentage I want to be at and maintain that for the rest of my life and slowly build muscle over time. I'm not in any rush. I plan to be healthy and fit for the rest of my life. I plan to be an old man and still jacked. Like, it's not an issue for me how fast or slow I gain muscle. But what does matter to me personally, now it can be very different for you, but for me personally, I do struggle with a bit of body dysmorphia. I'll be honest with you guys. For a really, really long time, I felt unsatisfied with my progress as I was losing weight. I felt fat all the time, felt like I wasn't doing enough. I started to starve myself, etc. So for me, today was a magical moment. This thumbnail image. I'm gonna say it, I feel sexy. I feel attractive. I feel aesthetic. That six-pack abs for me is such a big, big deal. That is something I've always dreamed of having, never had in my life, and to really see it pop out. I've had it for maybe like a month now. I've had a six-pack for about a month now, but just seeing it get more and more refined as I get to where I want to be, I don't want to give that up for a bulk where I gain a little bit more muscle than I would if I was on a maintenance phase. So if you are thinking about bulking and cutting, this isn't to say it's bad or you shouldn't do it. My advice is do what you are comfortable with. Really think about your goals, think about what's important to you, and choose the optimum strategy. If you want to gain muscle as quick as possible, if that's like your main goal, put on size, bulk. Bulk and then adjust from there. If you want to lose weight as fast as possible, lose fat, get that shredded six-pack abs and be really, really shredded, and you don't care about how much muscle you lose in the process, you want to get like very skinny, then cut. Do a dramatic cut. Now, I don't actually recommend doing a dramatic cut, but that you get my point, right? That's what these two strategies do. For me, I like the happy medium of losing fat and building muscle at a moderate pace. I don't have to lose fat extremely fast after I'm finished with my cut. I don't have to gain muscle really fast, so I'll never go on a bulk. So that's pretty much it for today's video. This was kind of a personal topic for me because it's something that I have been discussing with my trainer a lot. It feels like if I even sneeze, my trainer says, oh, you should go on a lean bulk. And today I finally told him my honest thoughts about it, and I'm making this video to share with you all my honest opinion about bulking and cutting. And I'm also citing, it's not just from me, your average Joe, that is becoming a fitness influencer, but it's also from former IFBB pro bodybuilders like Greg Doucette, who also swear by main gaining, maintenance, gaintaining, whatever you want to call it. It is also a viable strategy, especially for someone that's not actually trying to get super into the fitness industry. For the average person like you watching this video that just wants to get fit, healthy, look good, etc., main gaining is amazing. Bulk if you're skinny, cut if you're overweight, get to where you want to be, maintain. Thank you very much for watching this video. It went a little bit long, but this was an important topic to me and I wanted to do it justice, so I didn't care about the time for this. Subscribe for more uploads. I'm going to try to continue to pump them out. I can't promise daily because my life is getting extremely busy. I'm going to be working in a gym very soon. I'm excited about that. I'll make videos on that, being a personal trainer in a commercial gym. And yeah, without any further ado, go ahead and hit that like button because it really helps me grow the channel. Leave a comment down below if you have any burning questions, and if I really like them, I might turn them into a future video. Until then, take it easy, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and I'll see you guys next time.